Hey y'all, I'm the Guardian, and right here I am in the future, the far future, after the many months that I had apparently planned to do this video. Yeah, this is one of the most long overdue projects I have ever worked on. And to add more salt into my wound here, apparently the entire time I was recording this, I had a Ben 10 poster right here that I did not make use of. What a ditz, am I right? So, as I am wrapping up this little process here, I do sincerely hope that you guys enjoy the video. And additionally, pray that nothing else in the future gets delayed for this many months. When will I ever learn? Now, while I proceed to curl up in the fetal position over how much of this stuff that I fucking procrastinate, on with the video. Hope you enjoy it. 6 months, man. 6 months! Greetings, ladies, gentlemen, and others. I am the Guardian, and welcome to another rerun. Let's talk about Ben 10. Ben 10 was an animated TV series started in 2005 by the Man of Action Group, which was also known for Generator Rex, Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Ultimate Spider-Man, and of course, Ben 10. The show was produced by Cartoon Network and ran for 4 seasons until it ended in 2008. There were also several video games, movies, both live action and animated, along with continuations and a reboot series in 2016. So as you can see, there's a lot to talk about with this series. But for the sake of argument and the length of said video, I'll be focusing on the classic Ben 10 series from 2005 to 2008 and everything else that is focused on that show. So no Alien Force, Alien Swarm, Ultimate Alien, Omniverse, or Reboot will be covered in this video. But I will probably do my own videos for those exclusively, assuming that this little experiment of mine goes off without a hitch, which I hope it does because this seems like it might be a lot of fun. So with that said, let's start with how it all began. And then there were 10. The first season of the Ben 10 series mostly focused around the setup of the series, but also left it open for more in the event that the show didn't do well. But thankfully, it did. Season 1 starts off with Benjamin Tennyson, yes, that is his actual name, wrapping up his school year and going on a road trip with his grandfather for summer vacation. And right off the bat, we know this kid is a kid. He's got stereotypical tendencies for being a troublemaker, and it shows that his hero complex tends to get him into trouble with bullies.
Next time you want to play hero, make sure you can back it up.
But Ben here is voiced by the amazing Tara Strong, and what can I say? Some female actresses just somehow have a knack for doing prepubescent male voices, and Tara here is no exception. She nails the role with how sort of, I don't want to say whiny, but how very much of a kid Ben is supposed to be. But Ben meets up with his grandpa Max, voiced by Paul Eiding, who happens to have done quite the number of voice roles in many video games, including Skyrim, Smash Bros., Metal Gear Solid, and so many others that I haven't even heard of. But he's also done many additional voices in movies and TV shows, so you know the guy's got talent. We also meet Ben's cousin Gwen, voiced by Megan Moore, who got roped into the road trip because, to quote Gwen,
"Somebody convinced my mom that going camping for the summer would be a good experience for me."
And the two of them do not get along. Hilariously so.
Geek. Jerk.
So off the bat, this feels like an average family, and there's nothing really too out of the ordinary. Until dinner rolls around.
What is that?
Marinated mealworms. You know, they're considered a delicacy in some countries. This summer's gonna be an adventure for your taste buds.
Okay, is it just me, or does that sound amazing? Not the mealworms, per se, but learning about new cuisine in the unexpected ways of Max Tennyson. Nope. Just me? Well, anyway, it pretty much gives Max a quirk that we do find believable, and it sets up his storyline throughout, as well as what other mysteries that there are about this guy, because where did he learn this shit? After dinner, Ben goes for a walk with the worry that the summer will suck, and he finds a pod that crash-landed to Earth and contains the Omnitrix. It latches onto his wrist, and the rest is history. Good night, everybody! Okay. I'm just kidding. I'm actually gonna go over the rest of the history. He fiddles with the watch, which I'll get more into later, but he accidentally transforms into the most marketable alien at the time, Heatblast. Heatblast is fucking awesome!
I'm on fire! I'm on fire!
Not only do his powers allow him to burn, blast, and fly, but he is voiced by Steve Bloom.
Lady, the problem isn't in my pants. That's what I'm talking about.
That is what pretty much sold the whole package of Heatblast for me. I mean, can you imagine anyone else's voice doing this character?
Back to hell.
Okay, maybe. But after a forest fire and a marshmallow with his family, the watch times out and restores Ben to his human form. When Ben uses the Omnitrix again, this time he transforms into Wildmutt, a dog-like alien, which I'll get into more detail about that once I get to the aliens in this video. But this time around, he gets attacked by some alien robots. He survives the attack, but a bigger alien robot is destroying a campsite nearby, and Ben realizes what he can use the watch for, to help people. Again, he's a kid, and most kids look up to superheroes like that, and now that he has the power to become a superhero, he wisely uses this power to help people. And it shows that he wants to do the right thing. He uses the alien Diamond Head to take out the alien robot with a bit of collateral damage, but by the end of the episode, we have this show set up for the season. As a start to the series, and then there were 10, is a bit lengthy, but it does basically show us exactly what we need to know about Ben, Gwen, and Grandpa Max. Ben is a rash and eccentric kid who wants to do good. Gwen is a very intellectual girl with her own standards about what annoys her, namely Ben. And Max is set up as a mysterious, lovable old man whom we all know in our lives somehow. Believe me, when I first saw Max Tennyson, I instantly related him to my granddad due to their similar eating habits. But throughout the first season, we get some lessons learned by Ben and a few enemies that are set up for the rest of the season. From bullies to bad guys, the villains of the Tennysons. This series has created one of the most interesting and bizarre rogues galleries that I have seen in any kid's superhero show. Mostly due to the fact that, apart from it being just random villains that either have a connection to them or that they just happen to come across them, it also deals with the multiple alien species that they encounter, which expands the universe for both the Tennysons and the Omnitrix itself. A few aliens include the Limaxes, alien shapeshifters that don't have a lot of screen time in the series, but their one episode was one of the creepiest in my opinion.
Us Limaxes live for the heat.
And then there are the Gigawatts, a sort of electric battery type of alien that cause little bits of mayhem and destruction just so long as they get a laugh out of it. And let me tell you, that laugh is annoying. But some of the best in Season 1 is the villains themselves. Like Dr. Animo, a rogue scientist who uses his genetic knowledge to mutate animals with a dream to restore the animal kingdom to its prehistoric glory.
I will turn Washington, D.C. into Washington, B.C.
Kevin, who is a kid with powers like Ben but without any of his moral compass.
Psych! I absorb energy, remember?
Hex, a power-hungry magician with visions of world domination.
All of its power shall soon be mine!
An organization of alien hunters known as the Forever Knights.
He's ours now, and you just became disposable.
And there was also another villain who was only a one-off sort of enemy in Season 1. But it somehow turned into a joke character in Alien Force and the later series Omniverse. And that is Zombozo the Clown. The only reason we got Zombozo was so we could learn a Face Your Fears lesson from Ben. But given the other enemies in his rogues gallery that are recurring villains, it just feels a bit unnecessary since Zombozo really went nowhere. Even in the later series Alien Force and Omniverse, he's only mentioned once or twice. So, yeah, forgive me if I find it a bit unnecessary. But aside from all those villains, both one-time and reoccurring, none of them can compete with the squid face himself, Vilgax.
I will see to this task myself.
Like Heatblast, Vilgax is voiced by Steve Blum, and the way that he delivers this performance, Steve Blum brings the same sort of slimy intimidation that he brought to Orochimaru in the Naruto anime. And it really works. Built up as the big bad of the first season, Vilgax left his mark on the series as the ultimate enemy to Ben, and whenever he shows up in any of the series in any of its incarnations, it is a highlight. Originally damaged by the Omnitrix's escape from his ship, thanks to its caretaker, Vilgax was bedridden for most of Season 1 until he took it upon himself to confront the thorn in his side personally. He was also a thorn in Ben's side since the beginning. Vilgax sent the alien robots in Episode 1. He also sent a triad of alien bounty hunters after him. He technopathically corrupted a random street thug who injured Grandpa Max to scare Ben, and he hunted Ben down for as long as he took until he got the Omnitrix. Due to how the show presented Steve's excellent voice work, Vilgax became one of the best cartoon villains we saw in the 2000s. But Vilgax's biggest contribution was expanding what we knew about Grandpa Max and his secrets. So with that, let's see what else the show gave us. The continuations. Seasons 2, 3, and 4. Season 1 of Ben 10 was a good start, while maintaining an enclosed loop, so if it wanted to, it could have ended right there. However, the fans asked for more, and because the ratings were high enough, it warranted a second season. Enter Season 2. Right off the bat, we got the first episode of Season 2 explaining more about Max's past, with him being a member of an alien peacekeeping group known as the Plumbers. Think Green Lantern Corps, but instead of magic rings, we have alien technology. Oh, and guns. Lots and lots of guns. This realization gave us a new reason to like Max, because what kid didn't think that it'd be awesome to have someone in their family having a double life? But following that, we got the second best revelation in the series: the Omnitrix could be unlocked. In Episode 2, after fiddling with the control dials, Ben unlocked a new alien that soon became one of his favorites: Cannonbolt. This character became such a staple in the series that his face is on the cover of the Season 2 DVD release.
Coincidence?
I think not! Also, in the episode Can't Fear, while fighting off some alien fungus, roll with it, the Omnitrix used the DNA to unlock a plant alien called Wildvine. But not only do more aliens get unlocked, but one of them gets free. The episode Ghost Freaked Out presents an idea that raises many questions about the Omnitrix, since Ghost Freak manages to escape from the Watch, explaining that not every alien's DNA is just an empty shell.
An ecto-neurite's consciousness exists even in a few strands of DNA.
Due to the specific type of alien Ghost Freak is, his consciousness existed within the DNA encoder, and when he escaped, he became a serious threat. Ghost Freak did come back in the finale of Season 3, which I'll get into later in this video. However, this presented an idea that not all DNA in the Omnitrix is dormant, or able to be possessed by Ben, if you will. Some of them are actually alive, which this idea actually did come back later in Ultimate Alien, with the Ultimate Alien forms with the Ultimatrix. Again, I'll get to my own video about Ultimate Alien. But this concept is interesting in theory, and its execution was fine, but there weren't any other aliens worth doing it with besides Ghost Freak, so it's something of a glass half full type of idea. Moving on to the villains. They come back. Yes, Animo comes back for an episode, and Hex returns with the introduction of his niece, Charmcaster, who becomes a good foil to Gwen. And yes, the Forever Knights get more of a presence with the episode The Ultimate Weapon. But the best episodes, in my opinion, of Season 2 are 3, 5, and 13. In Episode 3, Framed, we get the return of Kevin, whom we thought was depowered back in Season 1 after an overload with the Omnitrix. But it forced a mutation inside him which turned him into a combined monster of the aliens by the end of the episode.
I can't change back! I'm stuck like this!
And let me tell you, that design kicks ass. In Episode 5, Grudge Match, we get more of Ben and Kevin at one another's throats. They're forced to work together, and it's a good team-up, but Kevin's arrogance and mentality left him to get his butt kicked yet again and trapped in space. But the best by far has to be Episode 13, Back with a Vengeance. In the finale to Season 2, Kevin and Vilgax team up to make Ben's life hell. In fact, a lot happens in the finale to Season 2. Ben unlocks a master control on the Omnitrix that lets him go and stay alien for as long as he wants. There's a major cliffhanger with Ben possibly being trapped inside an interdimensional prison known as the Null Void, and by the end of it, Ben's learned more about why being Ben is just as important as being an alien hero. But Ben wasn't the only one who learned from his mistakes. Throughout Season 2, Grandpa began slipping back into his old plumber ways, but maintains his composure, given what he has now and doesn't want to lose. Gwen started making more of an identity for herself, and even manages to kick some major butt too. And even Ben starts learning to rely on his family for help, because not even the Omnitrix can fix everything, which is further developed in Season 3. So with many more lessons, aliens, enemies both new and old, Season 2 was obviously a smash success, and it warranted the addition of another season. And so when we got Season 3, it incorporated a season-long arc, which we really didn't have in the series up until now. The first 4 episodes of Season 3 are mostly filler, with good morals and action, but don't really add anything to the overall plot of the season. All that really happens is that the kids go to the future, encounter a hypnotist named Sublimino at a supermall, encounter Charmcaster yet again, as well as her failed attempts to control the Omnitrix, and a required Christmas episode, which was actually clever how they incorporated that season into summer. The major bit of overwhelming importance with that Charmcaster episode is that she failed to switch bodies with Ben, but instead switched bodies with Gwen, so by the end of the episode, when Gwen got switched back into her body and Charmcaster was back in hers, Gwen actually got Charmcaster's spellbook.
Everybody got that?
Things actually do get rolling in episode 5, though. While visiting an old friend of Max's at a Native American festival in the desert, the gang encounters an alien werewolf that infects Ben's Omnitrix, allowing him to transform into the werewolf species. The werewolf steals some satellite equipment, but this eventually leads into their next encounter: a mummy. No, I'm completely serious here. While in the country, working on a dairy farm to learn the benefits of hard work, good luck teaching that to Ben, they encounter an alien mummy that's digging up an alien mineral called corrodium that can trigger mutations. They bury the mummy in the basement of an ice cream factory along with the mineral, which are both later freed by the werewolf in the episode Return. The episodes between these connected episodes are mostly different encounters that the gang has in different parts of the country, including an encounter with the Forever Knights at a baseball game, in Hollywood fighting off a jealous creator of a stolen TV show which was stolen from Ben's aliens. That's actually a funny episode, so I recommend that one if you haven't seen it already. Playing a video game, and even going to a rock festival in Chicago. It's more interesting than it sounds. But the plot thickens in the episode Return, where they encounter a Frankenstein alien. Yeah, I know. But the 3 of them have been stealing and building equipment in order to resurrect... Ghost Freak.
How can this be? I saw him fried with my own eyes!
Now, how Ghost Freak was able to do this, being ghost busted by Ben in Season 2, but he's a ghost, so he might have done so in an astral form or something. I don't know. This is the bottom line, though. Ghost Freak is back, and he covers the world in darkness, thanks to the corrodium and some well-placed, and some well-hacked, satellite equipment. It results in half the planet being mutated, and Ghost Freak becoming super powerful. But Ben and his family managed to stop him, destroy the satellite, and vaporized Ghost Freak in the sun. But ironically, Ghost Freak's DNA is later absorbed by the Omnitrix yet again, so if you think about it that way, this entire thing could fucking happen again! After all, the werewolf, the mummy, and Frankenvictor are all still alive, somehow, and it's really a lot of loose ends. I'm sorry, but while I did like this finale, they really left a lot of loose ends lying around that never truly got cleaned up. And it's technically not even the season finale of the episode. Well, unless of course there was a distribution error, which, that might not surprise me. However, the last episode in Season 3 is actually called The Visitor. In that episode, Max encounters an old flame of his who turns out to be the person who sent the Omnitrix to Earth, and it turns out that the Omnitrix was originally meant for Max. This realization hits Ben pretty damn hard, and it leaves him in a state of frustration and anger that we really haven't seen him in at any point in the series. However, he does get over it a bit too quickly, which does sadden me a bit, but hey, everything must be wrapped up in about 20 minutes or so. However, Ben's suspicion towards Xylene stays throughout the episode, which is understandable. He's a kid. But by the end of the episode, Xylene gives her blessing to Ben about him keeping the Omnitrix, She says goodbye to Max, and Ben got a new alien thanks to her. Upchuck. An alien that eats junk and belches explosive loogies.
Cool! Exploding loogies!
Perfect for a 10-year-old!
I've got a junk power!
However, that is still not the weirdest alien that Ben has turned into. Okay, at this point it is, but when you look at the later aliens that Ben can turn into, it's not nearly as weird as you think. Enter Season 4, which is the most filler that we've had throughout these 4 seasons. Except for Episode 1, that is. Perfect Day was at first a basic episode with Ben fending off his own mind from the Forever Knights. Until we see the Forever King at the end. And that reveal meant that something big was going to go down. Eventually. After that, Episode 2 gives us another new alien for Ben. Ditto! Which is an alien that is capable of duplicating himself. That episode features another great appearance by Dr. Animo. Then we have an episode with the Fountain of Youth, which is just a funny episode with how the water affects Ben and Max. However, it does give us a bit of detail regarding some of Ben's aliens. For example, with the alien Stinkfly, as an adult, it shoots toxic goop from its eyes, and it excretes very smelly odors, naturally. However, apparently, when Stinkfly's species is young, it also farts. Toxic farts. Yeah, just watch that episode for yourself. Then there's another filler involving an alien wedding, and that premise alone makes the episode worth watching. But after that, we get the first animated movie, and it's technically within canon of the series. Ben 10, Secrets of the Omnitrix. There are actually 3 versions of this movie. A red version, a gold version, and a blue version. Insert your own Pokemon joke here, but I'll be going over the red version since it was the first one we got. The main difference between those versions is the alien that Ben chooses to bust in and stop Animo. Red is Heatblast, blue is Accelerate, and gold is a new alien called Eye Guy. The movie gives us a lot of new details about the Omnitrix, including the creator of the blasted thing, which is actually a Galvan named Azimuth. Oh, by the way, Galvans are actually gray matters. I might give the movie itself its own review someday, but the main point is that Ben learns more about his Omnitrix and travels the universe to stop its self-destruct countdown from destroying the entire universe. And we get plenty of old faces in this movie too, including Tetrax, one of the bounty hunters from Season 1 who turned out to be a good guy in disguise, Gwen, and even Vilgax makes an appearance, along with a new alien. A big alien.
Whoa! Check me out! I'm not just big, I'm way big!
The rest of the episodes, except for the last 3, are actually just fillers that include them fighting off road pirates, Ben using his aliens in a wrestling ring, and a spin-off episode of Ben 10,000 from Season 3, and his son, Kenneth Tennyson, in the future. Those aren't exactly worth mentioning very much, since they don't add anything to the overall story. But if you want to watch them yourself, by all means. But now we get to what was thought to be the end of Ben 10. The 2-part episode, Ben 10 versus the Negative 10. This 2-parter brought closure to the Forever King by collecting a number of Ben's enemies throughout his journey and teaming them up to take him down. And the Negative 10 includes the following. The Forever King, who is in fact an ex-plumber giving himself a connection to Max, and his second-in-command Forever Knight.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
That's 2. Sublimino, the hypnosis guy from Season 3 in the one-off episode. Number 3. The circus freaks Thumbskull, Acid Breath, and Frightwig from the trio's encounter with Zombozo and Ghost Freaks in both Seasons 1 and 2. That brings the total up to 6. Clancy, the mutated Bugman from Season 1. 7. Charmcaster, the evil sorceress. 8. Dr. Aloysius Animo and his mutated animals. He has a mutated animal, but that technically still counts as 9. And Rojo, the biker from Season 1 who got technopathically corrupted by Vilgax's alien robot, which eventually left her with knowledge about alien technology. And that makes 10. 10 of Ben's most... Well, I wasn't going to say his most dangerous enemies, but we don't have Vilgax or Kevin in that mix. Instead, we have Clancy. Most of these enemies are one note, or really don't have much of a personality, but their powers make up for it indefinitely. An odd mixture, yes. However, the 10 of them turn out to be one of the trio's biggest challenges. It's a great two-parter with the second appearance of I Guy in the series. The first, technically being in Secrets of the Omnitrix. But it's also a great introduction to Cooper, the grandson of a friend of Max's who happens to be a technopath. Cool. After the -10, we got an official end to the classic Ben 10 series in the form of Goodbye and Good Riddance. The entire series of Ben 10 took place during the summer, but what if summer was over for Ben? Sorry, I was trying to think if I could make a Phineas and Ferb joke. Anyway, this episode answers that question with Grandpa Max taking Ben and Gwen back home for school, because as it turns out, summer's over. Ben's worst nightmare. However, they end up getting followed by Vilgax and bringing that fight into Ben's hometown of Bellwood. Squidface here will just not give up, will he?
It means get lost, Squidward.
I see it as a good ending since it gives us closure with Ben and we get to see his family for once. I mean, his mom and dad. And everyone manages to get in on kicking Vilgax's butt. The biggest thing about this episode was that Ben's secret is out. Some of his classmates end up seeing him transform into one of his alien heroes, and since these alien heroes were on the news and being mentioned on TV throughout the entire 4 seasons we've had of this series, Ben's secret is now officially out, and he becomes Bellwood's hometown hero. So, probably one of Ben's best dreams. Not a bad way to end things, if you ask me. But we also got a live-action Cartoon Network movie of the alien-busting hero before the series had ended properly. Back in 2007, Cartoon Network premiered a live-action movie of Ben 10, which is known as Ben 10 Race Against Time. It is in no means a perfect movie. Like the show, it was made by Man of Action, and it had received many negative reviews due to its low-budget CGI effects, the tone of the movie being unfocused, and the performances from the cast.
I'm sorry, Ben. It was the only way.
There was one advantage it did have, which gave it something of a nostalgic edge as the years went by. It was a faithful adaptation. I'll probably review this movie at some point, but given the negative reviews it got and the lack of praise it had compared to the show at the time, it became forgettable and slowly slipped into what I call the forgotten realm. But who knows? I'll probably review it at some point in the future. But in 2012, there was another Ben 10 movie, a whole 4 years after the series had ended. The movie was apparently a love letter to the series since it premiered during an event called Ben 10 Week, in which the nostalgia of Ben 10 was in full effect, with it following Secrets of the Omnitrix in terms of its timeline, and was dedicated to the vice president of Cartoon Network who had passed away at the time. It was also Cartoon Network's first CGI collab film with Asia. So I guess it was a big deal, considering that it also got better reviews than Race Against Time did. And again, this movie will probably get its own review at some point, but the movie itself was certainly a love letter to the original series, and it has my respect for that. Alright, let's see. All 4 seasons, plus both movies, I have covered successfully. Am I forgetting anything? No, I don't think so. Let's move on to the next segment. Secrets of the Cast. Exploring the Heroes. I mentioned Ben, Gwen, and Grandpa Max's growth throughout the series, learning from their mistakes and doing the right thing as best they can, no matter the costs, even when it comes to self-sacrifice. But I've only mentioned the aliens in passing, therefore, it's hero time. The aliens are the major highlight, and what most people watching the show were looking forward to, but got something better in return. But let's go back to the aliens that started it all and helped Ben save the day. Starting with the original 10, the creators basically gave Ben an alien for almost any situation. The trailers for this series even had several kids being asked what types of alien powers they would want to have. Now, none of this footage can be found at this point in time, but still, Ben's first alien was Heatblast, and it was one of his favorites if he wanted to get messy.
Fight me. You're the one who's gonna be burned.
Being a Pyronite, Heatblast is living magma and fire. His pyrokinesis lets him control, shoot, and be immune to any form of fire. A fun little tidbit about Heatblast as well. In Season 1, there was an episode called Side Effects, where Ben got a summer cold. And it affected his aliens. So, by the end of the episode, when he transformed into Heatblast, his pyrokinesis was replaced with cryokinesis due to the effects of Ben's cold.
Now, can we please get some hot chocolate or something?
So does that mean there's a race of ice aliens like Heatblast out there? Or was it just a little fumble? Ben's go-to alien for most of the series was Four-Arms, a Tetraman's normally used for fighting given his 4 arms. He was one of Ben's favorites because of his dense muscular form and his incredible strength.
Let's wrestle!
That'd be any kid's favorite, honestly. A super strong fighter. Grey Matter is one of the more clever aliens, being a Galvan with its high intellect, but there had to be some sort of a drawback, and with Galvans, it's their size. Which is why Ben rarely used him as one of his go-to aliens. This idea is made even funnier, considering that apparently the creators had this sick and twisted idea that sometimes the Omnitrix would have a mind of its own, and it would transform Ben into Grey Matter at the worst of times. However, it did end up making things work out in the end.
Huh? Oh, no. Anything but being a micro-munchkin.
Wild Mutt is a Volpomancer, which is perfect for tracking and hunting. Ben doesn't really use this one very often, but when he does, it's put to good use. Especially considering that a Volpomancer's sense of smell is one of the most keen in the universe. According to the series, anyway. And even though a Volpomancer can't speak, it's pretty clear what Ben is trying to say sometimes. Accelerate is one of my personal favorites, simply because I love speedsters. As a Kinetoceleran, Accelerate's speed is his biggest advantage, and his fast thinking lets Ben do some extraordinary things. Accelerate's a basic speedster with basic speedster abilities and benefits. There's really nothing else to him except his cool voice.
Hey, I said Ripjaws, not Accelerate! Stupid what?
After Accelerate, we have Diamond Head, a Petrosapien, which is Ben's second go-to alien when it comes to strength, but Diamond Head's invulnerability and Petrokinesis allows him to control and manipulate crystals, making him capable in more than just strength.
Oh yeah, who's bad?
After Diamond Head is Stinkfly, and a Lepidopteran smells as bad as it looks.
Oh, you reek!
I know!
Stinkfly secretes a naturally foul odor that's basically Major BO times 10. He can fly to great heights, and because of his 4 eye stems, he has a wide range of vision. That, and he can shoot out a toxic slime that can ignite upon impact with anything flammable. Following the toxic spit, apparently younger members of Stinkfly's species is capable of executing toxic farts. Toxic flatulence. For more information about that, please check out the episode Don't Drink the Water. Moving on to Ripjaws. Not the best alien anywhere that isn't aquatic. Ripjaws is a Pisces Volan, which is best in water, and has jaws strong enough to rip through steel. Besides that, he can communicate with fish, and even change his legs into a tail in order to swim faster. He still needs to stay hydrated as Ripjaws, otherwise risk turning into a walking fish stick.
Oh, sometimes I hate this watch.
Upgrade is probably one of the coolest in both design and power set due to his ability to merge with an, upgrade technology. Upgrade species, the Galvanic Mechamorphs, were accidentally created by Grey Matter's race, the Galvans, who created a species of living nanotechnology. Upgrade can fire powerful beams from its eye, merge and upgrade any form of technology, and shift its form into weaponry as well. Again, Upgrade is pretty damn cool.
Your cash request has been denied.
Cannonbolt, the first of Ben's new aliens in Season 2, is an Arborian Pelorota, which is basically a bulletproof roly-poly that can smash through anything if it gets fast enough. Its speed, however, can be one of its biggest flaws. Since he picks up speed so quickly, hitting more agile targets can be very difficult for this race. Although, he's useful for taking out bigger targets. But his clumsiness is another drawback. Ever since Ben unlocked Cannonbolt, the Omnitrix decided to use this as another mess-up function as opposed to gray matter.
Man, what do you have against forearms?
Wildvine, the second of Ben's new aliens, is a Florana which gives Ben the ability to talk to plants, stretch its limbs like roots, throw seed bombs, and travel underground. Ben sadly doesn't use Wildvine as much as he should, considering that the other benefits that he has, considering that he can stretch so he can get to places just by stretching over to the next little area.
So you want to fight dirty, huh?
Now on to Ghost Freak, and that's where it gets a bit tricky since Ghost Freak was his own person trapped in the Omnitrix. Basically, Ghost Freak is a ghost, and since Ben can turn into Ghost Freak, Ben gets the powers of a ghost.
See ya. Wouldn't wanna be ya.
Ben Wolf, Ben Mummy, and Ben Victor were DNA-acquired aliens in Season 3, and were all renamed in the later series of Ben 10. But Ben Wolf, later called Blitzwolfer, gave Ben the abilities of a werewolf with its senses, agility, speed, and its sonic howl. Ben Mummy, later named Snarrow, is another example of an elastic alien, but the added feature of regeneration, considering Ben Mummy is made of, well, mummy wrappings. Ben Victor, later called Frankenstrike, has the strength of Frankenstein's monster, but the added bonus of an electromagnetic system in his body, letting him alter and use electricity as well. Following those guys, we have Upchuck, who is unlocked in the Omnitrix by Xylene in Season 3. Upchuck being a Gormat of Peptos 11, you can take a wild guess as to his powers. Those days where parents teach their kids not to spit, there's an alien that does exactly that. Thanks to his 4 strong adhesive tongues, or 6, depending on the color of Upchuck, those tongues allow him to swallow anything that's non-organic, and shoot out explosive loogies as a result. Regular food and living organisms will just make him sick. Yeah, I feel bad for Ben when he was Upchuck at that buffet and he couldn't eat a damn thing. But after Upchuck, we get Ditto. Ditto was one of Ben's favorites when he first unlocked him, simply because it gave him something to do with himself. That sounded really bad, but I'm not going to harp on it. Ditto's main ability is duplication, and while the duplicates can and will think for themselves, they have a psychic link that results in them feeling each other's pain and location. So it's something of a double-edged sword, but using Ditto would probably be a lot of fun. Waybig was an alien unlocked by Azimuth in Secrets of the Omnitrix, and he's big. Like, really big. He's way big. Waybig is a Taku star, which essentially are giants on a more cosmic scale. The size of Waybig also gives Ben immense strength, scale, and the power to shoot a laser from the spike on top of its head. You know, a lot of Ben's aliens tend to shoot lasers. Anyway, the last alien, to my knowledge, of the original series was Eye Guy, and well, he was technically first introduced in the gold version of Secrets of the Omnitrix, but he later came back in Ben 10 versus the Negative 10 for that 2-part episode. Although, it was a bit weird that Eye Guy was the first alien to be unlocked off-screen, which I honestly didn't expect Ben 10 to do. But what are you gonna do? With his body covered in eyes, Eye Guy is easily one of the best aliens to get every angle. And the fact that he looks like a bat is just an aesthetic choice, I guess. The eyes on this alien allow him to shoot many forms of lasers and energy projectiles, including basic lasers to freeze bursts, while also being able to merge the eyes together in order to shoot out a massive beam of energy when the time calls for it. And after Eye Guy, that's about it. Now, I'm not even going to mention the one-off aliens that we saw in the Ben 10,000 episodes, because those aliens later came back in Alien Force and Ultimate Alien. So when I get to those series, I'll probably cover those aliens. But for now, let's wrap this video up with a few last-minute details. The final transformation. Ben Tennyson's finest hour. It's no surprise that the classic Ben 10 series has some of the best writing, some of the best acting, some of the best animation, and some of the best moments of the entirety of the Ben 10 franchise. And the spin-offs and sequels of this series just can't really compare to it. It's sad, I know, but not everything was perfect. But there were some pretty badass moments, and I've decided to go over my top 5 favorite and top 5 worst moments in the Ben 10 series. Or at least in the classic Ben 10 series. Seasons 1 to 4. Here we go. First, I'm going to start with the worst of the worst, simply because I want to end this video on a high note. At number 5 is the episode Ken 10 from Season 4. Okay, when I say worst episodes, take it with a grain of salt, because there aren't that many bad episodes of Ben 10. I mostly see them as episodes I'll consider skipping, or episodes that require a certain occasion to watch. Ken 10, while adding more development with Ben 10,000 from the future, is not really necessary. If you want to know more about Ben 10,000 after Ben's visit, sure, go ahead. But in terms of the show itself, it really shouldn't be here. It should have been more of an extra in the special features or something. It's a good enough episode showing that Ben's stubbornness and shoot first, ask questions later way of thinking is apparently hereditary. But once again, it's not really needed. Deja vu. Number 4, Midnight Madness from Season 3. Now some of you may like this episode, but this being an opinion-based video, I'm sharing my opinion. And I just don't like this episode. The villain is dumb, his plan is dumb, and it's honestly a slow episode with Ben being kept awake so he doesn't fall under Sublimino's influence again. This one is just dumb. Moving on. Number 3, The Galactic Enforcers from Season 2. The major thing that this episode did wrong was make a 10-year-old Earthling seem more intelligent than a legit trio of intergalactic superheroes. Sure, they brought back 6-6, another one of the bounty hunters from Season 1, and introduced Volcanus as a potential enemy down the line. Alien Force, cough cough. But this episode made real heroes in the world look like idiots to someone who doesn't even have his first chest hair yet. That and the Enforcers are annoying. A smug-as-hell brain thingy, a horny female Tetraman, and a Superman stereotype with a weakness to chocolate. Need I say more? Number 2, Game Over, from Season 2. The concept is cool enough, but the execution was poor. It displays some of Ben's more childish ambitions, despite the fact that he should know better at this point in the series, and it's just dull. The idea of being sucked into a video game is cool and all, but they could have made it more compelling. I just don't like this episode, and it just seems like a step backwards in the long run with its form of originality. And my number 1 least favorite episode of Ben 10 is Tourist Trap from Season 1. Yeah, not everything in Season 1 was bliss. A literal sideshow in the most boring of locations that somehow captured and imprisoned a dangerous alien lightning bolt, which proceeds to multiply and wreak havoc. And it is boring. This is easily one of the most boring episodes in the entire series, and not to mention that the Gigawatts laugh gives me such a headache. I know that it sounds like a personal problem, but I can't help it. It just gives me such a migraine. But for now, let's switch gears and check out some of my favorite moments in Ben 10. Number 5, Return and Afraid of the Dark from Season 3. Ghost Freak's return was something that I didn't expect, but I was glad that we got. An alien from the Omnitrix resurrected to make Ben's life a living hell, and bring hell on Earth. Literally. Plus, the payoff to the werewolf, the mummy, and the newly added Dr. Victor Stein was fantastic. Ben faced his biggest fears in this episode, and he just conquered Ghost Freak like a champ. Number 4, Ben 10 versus the Negative 10 from Season 4. An epic conclusion to the Forever Knights until Alien Force. I really enjoyed the stakes in this two-parter because it was 10 of Ben's enemies all working together to kill him, and they managed to connect Max into everything with the Forever King, made sure Gwen got some action against Charmcaster, and introduced Cooper, who became an important character later in Alien Force. great setup, great payoff, and a great conclusion to some underestimated baddies. Number 3, Secrets from Season 1. Vilgax's first appearance to Ben, and Max's worst dream come true, made for such compelling drama and amazing action. It showed Max's development since he had to tell his grandkids the truth, and it deepened their bond as a family. Plus, the fights between Ben and Vilgax were just awesome! Number 2, Back with a Vengeance from Season 2. More Vilgax? Add a sprinkle of Kevin into it? Why not? These are two of my favorite villains for Ben, since Vilgax is a master of the Omnitrix, and Kevin is a literal amalgamation of the Omnitrix's roster. A true mirror of both Ben physically and morally. The risks that Ben took in this episode were so drastic, and the payoff was commendable. And what happened with Vilgax and Kevin by the end of the episode was just karma waiting to reply. Before I share my number 1 favorite, here are a few honorable mentions for the best of the best that I still find to be quite damn enjoyable.
I can't change back! I'm stuck like this! Look at what you've done!
Oh, man! Is there anything I'm not going to get blamed for today?
I've got all your powers, plus my own! I'm Kevin 11!
Too bad each one of those is only a tenth as powerful as mine.
Now, can we please get some hot chocolate or something?
Psych! I absorb energy, remember? I thought you were ugly before.
Guess what? I'm not just lucky anymore. I am totally kick butt. Ben, what's going on?
I don't know.
So this isn't one of your superheroes?
No. What can we do next?
Get you to school, Ben. Summer's over.
And my number 1 favorite episode of Ben 10 is Secrets of the Omnitrix from Season 4. It really couldn't have been anything else. Ben's choices in this movie made him question if he should keep the Omnitrix and how his actions do have consequences. Sometimes drastic consequences. Plus, the return of Tetrax was great. Discovering the Omnitrix's origin and more of its features were amazing to discover, and Vilgax's return made it that much more exciting. And Azimuth as a character is just a treat. I love that little shit. And so that was my top 5 best and worst episode of Ben 10. And I feel like we're about to clock out here soon, so let's just wrap this up, shall we? Ben 10 still remains a classic in my eyes to this day. The acting, the action, the drama, the animation, and the writing are all still phenomenal, even when the episodes aren't the best when it comes to story. I love this series and will continue to respect it as best I can. There are still some of the best characters I've seen in a cartoon, and please check it out if you haven't already. Even when it's bad, it's still pretty damn enjoyable. Oops, looks like I'm timing out here, so, enjoy what you see what you enjoy, and, well, I'll catch you guys when I get to Alien Force. Farewell.